Good morning to you, wherever you may be in the world today. My name is Alan Clements. I'm here in Santa Monica, California, in the United States. And I'm giving a series of sharings, talks, directed to the military coup d'etat happening at this moment in Burma and Myanmar. And what we can do here on the outside to support and engage and involve ourselves in the civil disobedience movement among the people in Myanmar and worldwide, to support rule of law, democracy, universal human rights, and basic human decency. It's a crisis of epic proportions. Today's sharing is directed specifically to the United States President Joseph Biden, the president of my own country that I'm a citizen of. And sir, if I can be humble and direct with you, if I may I pause here? Anyone who has access to the president, to anyone in the Senate, in the House, to the intel communities, to UN diplomats, to representatives in the United Nations, the EU, Canada, Australia, any diplomatic channel whatsoever that has access to the White House, to the United States President Joseph Biden, please share in the most determined way this video for this gentleman. Now, a three-part presentation today, if I may. Why Burma matters to me, who I am. Why Burma matters, I think, in the world community. And what I'm asking you, President Biden, to do on behalf of the democracy struggle in Burma and the people right now suffering under the fate of this rogue army, a terrorist organization, under the direction of Senior General Min Aung Hlaing, and the man who appointed him in his position, U Thant Shui, and their connections to the genocidal premier in China. I'm sorry to be so explicit, but what happened in Tibet, what happened in the Uyghurs in China, what's happening to the people of China, what's happening to the people in Hong Kong is decidedly wrong. The Belt and Road Initiative, initiated by Premier Xi in China, is a euphemism for global one-party rule called authoritarian communism, and anyone who poses that, you become a slave in a gulag or genocidally killed. Burma is the next Tibet. I want to explain this to you. I've spent maybe 43 years in and out of the country of Myanmar or Burma. I was a former Buddhist monk in the monastery in Rangoon, started by the first Prime Minister, U Nu, who I met. I know his family. I spent nearly 4 years in that monastery off and on, thrown out several times by the former dictator, Ne Win. In 1988, the uprising, the year before China's Tiananmen Square, thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, millions of people took to the streets like they're doing right now in Myanmar in 1988, the infamous 8888 movement. And soldiers loyal to the dictator came out and killed many boys and girls in intimate proximity, either bayoneting them, shooting them, and or torturing them to death in prison. A tragedy. 32 years ago. I snuck into the country soon thereafter. A book resulted after 3 months being underground called Burma, the Next Killing Fields. No one listened at that time except His Holiness, the Dalai Lama of Tibet, who brilliantly wrote a foreword for that small book. The regional director of Amnesty International and I wanted to bring the good people of San Francisco to bear witness to what was happening in Burma that was closed at that time. There was no internet, obviously, but the book was one of the only windows into the tragedy. Time magazine picked up on the story. Newsweek did. 4 people came out in 1990. Today it's different. I've gone back into the country many times. I wrote the book with Aung San Suu Kyi. Hillary Clinton actually wrote me a note thanking me for that book. President Obama's read the book. His wife, Michelle, has read the book. Sir, I would not be surprised that you yourself have read the book. The Voice of Hope. That was back in 1996 and 1997. For the last 10 years, post my own unbanning from 17 years in Myanmar by the former dictator, banned for those books. And Aung San Suu Kyi was released in 2010. I met with her in San Francisco shortly thereafter. I was unbanned. And for the next 10 years, I proceeded along a journey of bringing the Burma's Voices of Freedom to the world in a 4-volume set called Burma's Voices of Freedom. Those books I mentioned to you because they're definitive, co-authored with my genius savant colleague and co-author Fergus Harlow, one of the great experts on Burma and the Rakhine crisis. And I will say, study those books. Send them to everyone in your government, to all representatives of the United Nations. I feel confident that one does not understand the political, spiritual, social context of Myanmar today without reading those books. 2,000 pages. 5,000 pages were not included because we did not have the time or the money. I'm just saying this, not out of pride. I have a dedication to the people of Myanmar. They gave me my Dhamma birth, my spiritual birth, my political birth. I spent 6 months underground with Aung San Suu Kyi in 95 and 96. We share the same meditation teacher, Sayadaw U Pandita. He's included in these books. He's the architect of the Dharma of reconciliation. He's the one who's architected the nonviolent struggle, often assumed that it came from the NLD or Aung San Suu Kyi. No one knows Martin Luther King's spiritual teacher. Who among us knows Nelson Mandela's spiritual teacher? Who among us knows Mahatma Gandhi's spiritual teacher? The Venerable Sayadaw U Pandita is Aung San Suu Kyi's spiritual teacher, and many hundreds of thousands of people worldwide. It's a non-violent struggle. Burma is unique, sir, in that it's the birth of a new paradigm of bringing in timeless human values, democracy, rule of law, and justice through non-violent means. It's obvious Burma is occupied by a rogue army that should be better labeled a terrorist organization and a proxy army for Xi Jinping in China. Why Burma matters. Point 2. Burma is a small country, 54 million people, 135 different dialects and languages and ethnicities. Positioned on the Bay of Bengal, adjacent to its monstrous neighboring country, China, that has probably 13, 14, or 15 provinces within China larger than the entire population of Burma. As you know very well from your own intel and research, China, Xi Jinping, the Belt and Road Initiative, has a long pipeline, very much like the pipeline that you just basically nixed, the Keystone Pipeline. China has a pipeline through Yunnan province into the Bay of Bengal. And most of what we've seen, the tragedy of the Rakhine crisis with the Rohingyas, yes. But there's deeper subtext to this whole story. It's about oil. It's about money. And the Burmese military are in bed with the Chinese genocidal party in China. Burma is the next Tibet. I heard it numerous times in my last visit there. We have a chance, sir, you have a chance to do it really, really differently. Yes, sanctions are good, outcry is good, but is it enough? Not even close. And I'm going to suggest some options here, if I can be so bold. I was thinking about this today, really in my heart. This is a very important topic to me. Burma is the birth of democracy on our precious planet. That's a big concept. If we can't support a child being born into this world, who are we as individuals? Burma is small, but she is large. She occupies a strategic place in the Asian continent. If China were to take over Myanmar, it would be a forgotten additional region to China 70 years hence, like Tibet is. Tibet is Chinese owned. Imagine in 1950, His Holiness the Dalai Lama was in the White House talking to you. He said, "Sir, we have information that the Chinese are going to invade our country of Tibet." And you ask him, Tibet? Where is that? It's in the Himalayan regions, adjacent to China, touches Burma and Nepal and India. What do you do there? We have an ancient sovereign nation, a high altitude nation, a tapestry of people embedded in what we call Buddhism, Dharma. We have a concept called the Bodhisattva. I'm a Bodhisattva, he's telling you. What is that, sir? A being dedicated to the welfare of all beings, impartial of region and nationality, committed to ahimsa, harmlessness, decency, universal values. There is no difference between the Dharma and politics. Why are you here today, Dalai Lama? We understand that we're going to undergo a genocide by China. What would you like me to do, Dalai Lama? Sanctions? No. I would like you to stand up to China and tell them N-O. Not over my dead U.S. body will you commit a genocide in Tibet. Yes. Am I being that bold as to say this about Burma? I wrote a book 30 years ago called Burma, the Next Killing Fields. No one listened except the Dalai Lama. Why? He knew. Imagine you, sir, a year and 3 months ago, we had information about the Chinese occupation to come of Hong Kong. Joshua Wong is in your office, the young activist. Sir, we have information that mainland China is going to occupy us, going to imprison our family, persecute us, put us into the gulags on mainland China, erase us from the memory of Earth. What would you like me to do, Joshua? Say no to the genocidal premier Xi Jinping. What would that look like? Make a stand called the red line. And that's what I'm asking you to do. Respectfully, President Bima, draw a red line here with what's happening in Burma. We can do it differently. 2.5 million Tibetans were mercilessly beheaded, raped, killed, shot, persecuted, starved, and died of disease based upon the occupation of China. And it still goes on at this very moment. 200 boys and girls in Tibet have immolated themselves, not like the Vietnamese monk in 1966 in Vietnam when we invaded Vietnam, and that monk lit himself on fire in the Saigon city square and lit the world on fire with the awakening of our conscience to the suffering of our people. Daw Aung San Suu Kyi is our democratic sister. The president is our democratic brother. Today, the rogue army, the terrorist organization of Burma, has issued arrest warrants for 17 more elected civilian democratic officials. They will be erased from the memory of the planet. Sanctions are not enough. Over 400 people have been arrested. The country is under siege. Against all odds, the people are rising up in what's known as a civil disobedience movement, sir. This is super radical, super cool, super inspiring. We have a chance to unify around a central topic today. What is unity? You made a big deal of this in taking office. Unification, harmony beyond red and blue. This is our moment. It's a global world today. Burma is our family. Daw Aung San Suu Kyi is our sister. The people are our brothers, our cousins, our uncles. Burma is the birth of democracy. It's not a small country. It's rich in diversity, in languages, all the major religions, and the epicenter of classical, ancient, transformational Buddhism in the world. What is Buddhism? Rooted in generosity. You walk that country, and I know that country as well as any American in the world, I would say. Call me your own de facto Secretary of State. I knew Derek Mitchell, the ambassador. I've known every political attaché. I've studied the language. I know that country as well as anyone who's advising you. And I'm saying to you, sir, we have a chance here to take a stand. They're committing war on their own people, to do it differently than what happened in Tibet and in Hong Kong, and make a stand in Burma today, which I'm going to get to, an action. But we must act immediately in support of the people. A breathtaking country. An elected leadership that are being incarcerated as we speak, hunted like animals. This is not an army. This is not a legitimate military force. They're a group of thugs similar to the Taliban. They've declared themselves. I wrote about this 30 years ago in a book, Burma, the Next Killing Fields. It came through in my book with Daw Aung San Suu Kyi, The Voice of Hope. I know all of her colleagues. One of my best friends and mentors is the former general of the army, U Tin U, imprisoned for 6 years under Ne Win, and then another 13 years of a house arrest and solitary confinement by various dictators in the country. I know the leadership. I know the people. I can't speak for them, but I will. What are they asking you to do today, sir? Not sanctions alone. Not say for Americans to shelter in place. Think Vietnam, 1975. I've been to Vietnam. I was hired to write a film about Vietnam. I've gone to the American War Atrocities Museum in Saigon City. I've been in the tunnels. I've been to Ho Chi Minh City. I've been to Hue. I've seen the Agent Orange that's gone down in that country where still nothing grows. All these years later, I've seen the boys and girls deformed without features on the city streets begging with surgical slits in their mouths based upon the raining of these poisons on the people. And at the last minute, the embassy became the portal for freedom, and we took those people out by helicopter. What will it take to do it differently today? Burma is under siege. From a day-to-day angle, it looks like a slow-motion military coup. But if you look at history, it's happening instantaneously, sir. And we must act now. Think Vietnam 75 in Burma. Think of all the Americans at the embassy. I was recently there. Call your people and ask about it. I met with the political attaché. Call Derek Mitchell, former ambassador. Look into the agencies. I'm giving you direct advice through digital media, sir, on what to do. Here's the actions. The people of Burma are risking everything that they have and more, the future of life, the future of freedom, for the civil disobedience movement. And what does that mean? From what I gather here on the outside and what I read and hear and what people tell me, they're refusing to participate in tyranny. They're refusing to participate in dictatorship. This is called Burma's second great independence. First, from the imperialist, white supremacist British after 135 years of domination. Aung San Suu Kyi's father, probably as you know, General Aung San, led a small group of people and outlawed by the white supremacists as a terrorist organization, but eventually delivered his people into independence. For 70 years, it's been the occupation or so of dictatorship. The second great independence is from military dictatorship in Burma. We must draw a red line. What I'm asking you to do, show up for the people of Burma. As you know very well, Russia and China, members, for whatever strange, perverse reason, of the UN's Human Rights Council. It's unthinkable that a genocidal regime could be part of a Human Rights Council, but so be it. The free world stands with the people of Burma. Russia and China, no. Where do they get their weapons from? Primarily Russia and China. What could you do right now that you're not doing? Send a warship or two to the Bay of Bengal now. Take one of them from the South China Sea, or two, that has the most sophisticated US jets on that aircraft carrier, okay? Show up with stealth and put those ships right off the coast of Bay of Bengal and just stand vigil and let the world see we will not idly stand by with diplomatic rhetoric, taking and restraining the generals' bank accounts. They have billions of money stashed away, and they have China and Russia behind them. What the people need is a democratic giant, and U.S. must stand up today in the first weeks of your government to make a stand that democracy being threatened anywhere is a threat to our democracy in America. And we will not stand by. Send ships to the Bay of Bengal right now with the highest tech paramilitary forces on those ships and jets with precision-guided missiles on them, poised for whatever we feel is needed next. Am I advocating armed intervention? I'm saying show up with the next step beyond diplomatic rhetoric. Put some ships on the table. And furthermore, let the people know of Burma and let the military know that you're taking a stand that says, not only are you wrong, you've crossed the line, and we're looking at every option on the table to take you out unless you reverse your military stupidity and release Aung San Suu Kyi now, not tomorrow. Release the president, release all lawmakers, release the country from your terrorist hostage-taking behavior. Or these ships have a purpose. They are very precise in what they can target. Also, let the Americans know in the American embassy, if the going gets tough, we have ample soldiers, SEALs, and military forces ready to go on shore to protect Americans sheltering in place in the embassy and other Americans all throughout the country. Be ready for the next dramatic behavior. Don't wait. Show up for the people. Give them courage. Point 2. Burma has been so radically pillaged by these generals. I've walked the land. I've been to the poorest areas of the cities. It's unthinkable, the poverty. It's a rich country in resources, in heart, in generosity, in gems, in pearls, in trees, in water, in beauty, in ethnicities. But the generals have taken it like a mafia group. They're an Al-Qaeda organization. We got it wrong in Iraq, and you got it wrong in Iraq, sir. It was a wrong invasion. I saw your video on the Senate floor, standing firm on the importance of invading Iraq 17 years later. Look at the misery. 1 million people have died in the name of a lie. Burma's a truth. Stand up. Bring those ships immediately into the Bay of Bengal and basically stand up and tell the people the second point. We are with you. We've got your back. You know how important that is? You covered Hunter's back. Imagine the Dalai Lama in your office 70 years ago. A genocide is going to happen in my country. We could have covered his back. We could end the persecution in Tibet right now if we stood up for Tibet today. We could end what's happened in Hong Kong today, or what might happen in Taipei tomorrow. Today, we can end what's happening in Burma right now. The people are poor. Civil servants are risking everything. The banks, they're no longer working. The trains, the buses, the taxis. The doctors and nurses are being arrested. Soon the monks and nuns will be coming out and refusing donations from anyone associated with the police and the military. The civil disobedience movement is just beginning, sir. Show up for the people. Let the people of Myanmar know we've got your back. Militarily, ethically, and financially. You will be fed. We will find ways to get you money. Join the civil disobedience movement. Show up. Bring ships with planes and soldiers, and God forbid, what's the worst that could happen? What are the generals going to do? What is China going to do? What is Putin going to do? Except respect you for having a spine. Showing up, all the millions and billions of dollars that go into the building these ships and all the money that we pay the soldiers, the boys and girls to run and do what we do. This is a just situation. Iraq was wrong. Yemen was wrong. Afghanistan was wrong. Somalia's been wrong. Let's get it right. You have a chance, sir, to get it right. It's simple. Get on the phone. Tell your Secretary of State and Defense and the Pentagon, put those ships into the Bay of Bengal now. And I guarantee you, those generals will quiver. God will quake. The Buddha will applaud. The people will tear in celebration. There'll be an empowerment that we've never seen. Democracy's radiance will shine. You, sir, will be able to get, very likely, like your brother Obama, the Nobel Peace Prize for standing up for democracy. What's happening in Burma is Tiananmen Square times the nation. Don't let those tanks intimidate them or us. Put our stealth in full visual cognitive display. And if they cross the line, sir, they live in a little place called Naypyidaw, the kingdom of Burma's Taliban. They live in palatial estates. Those military commanders will break ranks with Senior General Min Aung Hlaing in a second. They see those ships coming. They'll likely go, guess what? Min Aung Hlaing, I think it's goodbye for you. Tan Choi will say, I think it's bye for you. And if Min Aung Hlaing goes to prison, one man, leave his wife and his kids off. One man goes to jail, the whole military will defect. And you have that possibility in your hands, sir. And so I'll close right here. We all know the famous, that can never be said enough, Martin Niemöller, the German Lutheran pastor. We all remember him, but we soon forget. First they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. You know where I'm going with this, but let's not let history repeat itself. And then they came and got the socialists, and because I wasn't a socialist, I didn't speak up. And then they came and got the trade unionists. And because I was a Lutheran pastor, I didn't speak up. They came and got the Jews. 8 million murdered. And because I wasn't Jewish, I didn't speak up. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak up. Okay. The Dalai Lama's in the White House. Aung San Suu Kyi's in the White House. You met her. Read my books. She's an amazing being. You know that. She's asking you, intervene. She asks for civil disobedience. Show your diplomatic alignment with her and the people of Myanmar. They have spoken. Bring those ships immediately into the Bay of Bengal. Bring our planes, bring our SEALs, bring our paratroopers. Be poised for the American embassy. Feed the people, give them money, and show an alignment with them. Bring them into your heart. This military is at war with their own people. They will not stop. They are not legitimate. There is no future for them. They're up. You must show that their game is up. Don't back down. Stand up. Immediately deploy those ships, please. Show up for democracy. Be on the right side of history. And be nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize and show America's greatness. Redeem America in the world's eye. Aung San Suu Kyi is an amazing human being. The liberal corporate media got it wrong. Read the books. You will not understand the complexity of Myanmar's political, social, and spiritual tapestry unless you study Burma's Voices of Freedom, written with my colleague, Fergus Harlow. They should be read by everyone in your government. They should be read by everyone immediately in the United Nations and diplomatic corps around the world. Spent 8 years on the ground in and out of Burma, meeting every one of their leaders. It's their voices. Please act now. Stop the nightmare in Myanmar. Show up for democracy in Burma. Show up for democracy in the world, and draw a red line in the sand to the Belt and Road Initiative in China, called a euphemism for one-party communism, called President Premier Xi. Anyone who poses that, genocide. The Dalai Lama's in your office. Aung San Suu Kyi's in your office. Join today. Please do not hesitate. People are dying. People are hurting. People are hungry. And you and your power, sir, have everything to do to support the people right now. Deploy those ships and those planes. And if you want to talk about this personally, please call me. And may anyone who's listening to this, who has access to the White House, to President Biden, to the CIA, to the FBI, to the State Department, to the United Nations, to Secretary General, to members of the EU, to Canada and Australia, all democratic countries worldwide, please send this to your leaders, and please get this into the hands of President Biden. From my heart to yours. Stand up for democracy. Deploy those ships right now. See you tomorrow.